Okay. That was a bit longer than I intended to spend. Let's go. Let's go. 94% range. Gonna go to a viewpoint, someplace called Clee, and we're gonna take a couple of pictures. I think this is a 30. Not got a huge amount of daylight today. We've got at least 2 hours. It's only got a half an hour to get to Clee. And then after Clee, we're going to keep going elsewhere. And it'll probably be dark by the time I get to my next charge, which is why I've gone a little over the 80 there. To be honest, it charges reasonably quickly. It's not a big deal to wait the extra 10 minutes. So Google just like tailed off there, and I think what's happened is... Oh, no. Okay. I thought for a second I put my phone in my pocket the wrong way around. Because sometimes what happens when I put my phone in my pocket is I put it in the wrong way around, and then my thigh pushes the volume buttons. I could probably put the turn there and go to let me go. But it doesn't matter that much. I was really confused the first time Google brought me up this way, because I was like, where are you taking me? But actually this does seem to be like not an unreasonable way to go. It's a bit odd because it feels like you're just going through someone's like housing estate on a rat run. It seems to be alright. I've actually I've turned music off for this a little bit because it's only half an hour and there's not any boring bits really. So it's just going to be a nice little bit of a ride. I don't have to worry about missing directions if I want to chat, you know, that kind of thing. Used to be a railway crossing. My nose is full of cold weather, it's really annoying. Oh, it's got warmer. Oh, it's actually 6 degrees now. Come on. Yeah, so this is kind of an experimental video ride thing. Like, doing shorter rides with vlogging in them is easy enough. You can just pick a subject and talk about it for a bit. This is a longer ride, and I'm not sure how to structure it. You know, do I want to be talking all the time? Do I want to be talking a little bit at a time? I've actually not got music on for this bit.
At the roundabout, take the first exit.
Roundabout, first exit, okay. I've got, you can hear Google, but you can't hear any music because I've got the music off. Yeah, I've turned the music off just so I can chat without having to worry about like turning volume on and off and stuff.
Exit the roundabout.
And yeah, like I don't know what the best way to do it is. Is it to have bits of him talking, or to just monologue the whole way through? In which case, I'm going to run out of things to say, or just repeat myself over and over and then cut it together somehow. I don't know. It's interesting to find out. That's kind of what I'm doing today, and also bringing you some roads that I haven't filmed before. Like I said earlier, like I did attempt to film this road before, but then things didn't really work out. Just that day, everything seemed to be a bit off, and there's a bit of a faff. Look at that guy. There's a guy at the bridge. Like, he ran out at the last minute to take a picture of the vintage bus, like driving down the hill away from him. Yeah, that's pretty funny. That's something I think that you miss when you don't have this kind of commentary available. Which is that, you know, I see things and I'm like, that's funny, or, you know, oh, that's really cool. I need to point that out in the video, and then there's no way to point it out in the video, or I've forgotten, you know, and I won't remember it. Because, like, if I came back to edit this letter without this soundtrack, I wouldn't be able to see the guy, because it's not, like, I'm pretty sure my GoPro did not capture him. So you guys wouldn't see him, and I wouldn't see him to, like, tell you guys to see him. Or, well, you mean, you know what I mean, to tell you guys he was there. So yeah, I guess that's a cool part of this. It's one of the reasons why this type of video is a bit more engaging than just POVs or voiceovers or travelogues. But the downside of that is that I tend to have big dead periods where I'm like, I don't know what to talk about. Did he nod? I think he nodded. His head moved slightly. It's kind of like a nod. I've moved to the web. Here we go. Here's a motorcycling topic I can actually chat about. Ooh, hello. I have moved to the web, and one of the reasons why I've moved to the web is, like, I did a lot of it when I was on the continent, because they don't nod on the continent, they wave, simply because you're on the other side of the road, so you can, like, lift your left hand to wave, and it's on the same side as the person oncoming, so waving is by far the most common. But riding on this side of the road, the nod is much more common, because it's harder to see someone's left hand. And obviously, you know, your right hand is your throttle hand. You can't really take that off the handlebar unless you have cruise control activated. And I'm not riding in cruise control right now because there's no point. You know, cruise control is for boring roads. But yeah, I moved to the wave. Part of the reason why I moved to it, you know, not just because I did a lot of it on the continent, obviously, but also because I am recording these. And so one of the issues that I had with recordings is I had the camera set so it could just about not see my speedometer. But then I would come up to someone on a motorbike and they'd be like, and then it's like, oh, okay, now I've got to go back in post to blur that out. And it's just annoying.
Turn right.
Mainly it's annoying when I'm in group rides because, you know, I don't mind if you guys see me speeding a little bit. But I do mind if my pace is being set by, like, Tito or someone, and we're all riding in a group, going the same speed that he's going at, and he's doing like 70 or something. And then, you know, I look down, and although, you know, cops aren't trawling these videos for speedometer readings and stuff, I just prefer not to, like, be like, yeah, my friend is speeding, and we're all speeding because he's speeding. Kind of, I don't really like doing that. It also, like, I mean, I don't get very many comments, but it heads off comments immediately. It's like, you know, okay, you can't see my speedometer, so don't bother commenting. And that's why on some of my videos I'll just, if I'm going to edit out the speed, I will edit out the speed absolutely any time that it appears on screen, even if it's well within the speed limit, just because it eliminates the obviousness of, yeah, it's blurred here, so obviously it must be speeding, which is what a lot of YouTubers do. They just won't bother, and then if they're nipping up over the speed limit, they'll be like, oh, it's blurred, or like kitten speed or whatever. And I know why they do that, because it's easier. Having spent a lot of time on POVs doing speedometer blurs, yeah, it's so much easier to just accept that you can see the speedometer and then just blur it when it's appropriate. But also then, when you're doing editing, you have to be like, okay, what was the speed limit in this area? And that's a lot of effort. And it's not a lot of effort that delivers value in your content. you know, there is a big difference between doing some effort that improves the quality of your content and doing some effort that achieves nothing except covering your ass. And yeah, it's hard to get out of bed in the morning for the second category. But when I'm doing solo stuff, I tend not to bother. And as hopefully you're seeing here, maybe it's gone out of adjustment, I don't know. You probably can't see my speedometer because I tend to prefer to bump my camera to a slightly upward angle so that firstly my speedometer isn't visible, and secondly, like, the center of the view is on like the road ahead, because that's more like what I'm doing. I'm not looking at my speedometer. It's barely in my peripheral vision. And depending on my riding position, it might even be literally out of view, which tends to be the case in the VFR sometimes. I only really look at it when I feel like I need to, and most of the time that's not at all. And that's kind of the view that I want you guys to have. I don't care what's on my dash. You shouldn't care what's on my dash. You should care about the view of the road. And that's why I've tried to adjust my camera so that the center of your view is like ahead. Like if you're on a road that's straight, the center of the view should be somewhere around the vanishing point of the road. Because that's where I'm looking. I'm looking at the vanishing point of the road. And even beyond like, oh, this is my view of what I'm seeing, it's just a more interesting viewpoint for you guys. Like, I have some of my videos where the camera has a slight downward angle. You can see a lot of the dash. Like you can see the whole steering yoke on the VFR in the dash and the screen and everything. And it fills a lot of the view, and I don't think that's a pleasing viewpoint. And the road, like the vanishing point of the road's way up at the top. You can still see sky and stuff. You can still see like the stuff that is coming up near the vanishing point of the road. Like, but it's high on the viewpoint, and I don't think that delivers a pleasing thing. Like right now, you've got a lot of hills in the distance in the view. If I had set the angle lower than that, you probably wouldn't see the sky in that view, and I think that's not a particularly interesting viewpoint for people looking at the video to have. Especially when the scenery is really beautiful. Actually, one of the reasons I want a 360 is because firstly, you have a lot less of this issue with a 360 because you can just put it somewhere it can't see the speedometer. Easy peasy. But also, you can look offline. You can look offline and see things that you wouldn't see through this viewpoint, particularly because it's very hard for me to like sufficiently turn my head to look at something that is particularly offline. I could swivel my eyeballs way more than I could move my head. And sometimes like I can look offline and sort of jam my eyeballs over to the other side so I can kind of look where I'm going. It's not a very comfortable riding position though. I generally only do it like on bridges or something like that. But if I had a 360 I wouldn't have to do that, because I could just be like, okay, in post what we're going to do is we're going to save the view off to this side, and ooh, look at that, that's some beautiful scenery. And I think that it delivers like a much nicer video experience for people. That's one of the reasons why I'm like really interested in it. And there's definitely a few of those points here, like where that dog was a second ago. There's a little sort of spot there with a railing and a seat, and I don't know what the view off of that is, but it's kind of an interesting spot. And maybe if I had a 360 at that point, I would be like, oh, okay, let's have the left-hand view and we'll see what's down there. And I would be able to see what was down there and decide whether or not I wanted to show you that. And maybe I would, maybe or maybe I'd just be like, oh, it's a cute dog, I'll show the cute dog. Because huskies are fluffy and cute. But that's a flexibility that the 360 gives you, that I don't have with these cameras. These cameras are okay for what they do. GoPros are pretty flawed, if I'm entirely honest, but they do have the advantage that they record very good quality video. They are not set up for long recordings. That is really their weakness, and GoPro themselves, they don't care. They're like, oh, well, you know, action cams are for recording short bursts of activity. They're not for recording long sequences. But that means that if you want to record something cool, you've got to set it up and then record it. Whereas when you're on a motorbike, what you want to do is you want to just set the cameras rolling, go out and just do the thing, and then come back later and go, okay, this bit's good, okay, this bit's good, okay, this bit's good. I'll use those bits and just discard the rest. And the only reason I do POVs using the entire recording is because I have the entire recording and it's kind of filler, really. But one of the interesting things is if I can think of enough things to say, that I can just talk and talk and talk and talk, lead in the whole I'm Irish thing, and produce sort of POV-like videos that are just me talking all the time while I'm writing. That's probably extremely impractical. Even I will run out of things to talk about eventually. But I mean, it's a thing that I could do. I would like to replace the POVs with more just content of kind of more interesting stuff, like highlights, and maybe particularly interesting things that I had to say, that kind of stuff. I guess more normal motorcycle vlogging content.